Okay, so this is my 1990 Eunos Roadster. It was imported in 2004. I'm going to show you where typically to look out for rust if you plan on buying one. I would always recommend going for the Eunos import. They seem to be far less rusty than the UK ones. First up is the dreaded rear wheel arch. What you tend to find is mud gets caught up in this lip up in here, and that collects all the water and the salt, and it starts to sort of bubble away this lip. Mine's in pretty good condition, still got the original spot welds, and there's been no welding work done to this car whatsoever. The previous owner was a classic car enthusiast, and he kept it garaged throughout the winter. So you want to check for bubbling on this outer part here, because what that will indicate is that it's eaten through from the inside, and you tend to find little bubbles sort of along this lip. Also on this lip as well, it will bubble through there. Again, this one still looks original, no welding work done at all. So I've actually treated up in my arches with Dinitrol. I highly recommend this stuff. It leaves sort of a hard finish with a very slightly waxy coat, and there's absolutely no rust at all in these inner arches. I really like this Dinitrol rust prevention. Just sprays on inside of there. This is not the cavity wax one. There's two types. This is the one that dries, and it's more for an external part, not the actual cavity wax. Again, that's all been treated and rust proofed all the way back down to there. I do need to change these screws, but that's pretty much it. Another place that's quite common is on this rear mud flap. You get mud and salty water build up sort of behind here. I've completely cleaned this out, but every month I would recommend pulling any dirt out of here, sort of behind here, otherwise it will bubble and rust through at the back here. So here we got the rear sill, and now this is where you always find rust problems. There's two drain holes here and here. Actually no, here and here actually. And if they're not cleared out properly, what will happen is water will build up on the inside bit of this panel and rust through from the inside. So you tend to find this will all be sort of bubbling here, and then if it's coming through from this side, it's going to be 10 times worse inside the actual panel. So if you go to look at one, especially the UK ones, and you've got bubbling here, sort of rust coming through here and here, it's going to be 10 times worse behind this outer sill. Also, I got my old one had quite a sort of big bit of rust behind here, so on the actual panel that's behind this sill, the original hole that was the drain hole had completely rusted to about the size of a 20p £2 coin, so it was about that big. So you want to make sure all this is solid under here and all under here, otherwise there may be some welding work required. One thing to look at as well, if you're looking at a especially a UK one, to tell if it's already had welding work done, is you see these spot welds that go down the panel. That usually indicates that it's the original piece. Most of the time, if they bodge it, they will actually just chop out this section, weld in a new panel, but not actually do much inside, because there's an inside panel that's the inner sill. If that rusts away, it will then rust through this outer sill. So the inner one and the outer one. But a lot of the times people will just bodge a plate over this bit and not do too much with the inside. Also, if you get rusted wheel arches or rusted bits here, to replace this panel they'll cut out sort of here and down there and replace that whole part. And you might be able to tell because these spot welds won't be there anymore. That will just be sort of flat. We're now at the front fender, and again here is where you get sort of bad rust bubbling along this edge unless you don't clean out the muck and grime that builds up behind this lip. Again, I've sprayed Dinitrol inside here to completely rust proof this inner sort of metal part in here. Another place you get a lot of rust problems is on this piece here. Along here it will actually rust all the way through from the inside. So you'll get mud, clumps of road grime build up inside this, between these two pieces, and that will rust through this corner here, mainly here, and it will sort of spread along this section here. I've currently got the actual inner arch removed. Now that's only because I've just done the actual rust proofing in here. I haven't had a chance to put them back on again. So again, with this grime here, you would normally have an inner arch here, so you may not actually see all the grime that's behind here, and over months that build up a lot. And again, all the way under here you want to be pulling out the mud, because there will be a lot, trust me. And then down in this section here, and you'll have big clumps of mud, water build up on this front part of the sill. When I first got this, I took the arch off and there was massive clumps of mud down this panel between the inner piece and the actual fender, and I had to get a power wash in there, pull all that out, otherwise you'll get rust build up on this front sill, the same as the back one. You've got two drain holes here and here that you need to make sure that are clear. You can use like a toothpick to pull out any muck that's stopping water from being drained through them. Again, if you don't do that, these will rust out, these will rust out, and then you'll get rust coming through this part here and possibly behind here. Another place I would look for rust as well is, it's hard to tell with the wheel arch liners on, but behind them you've got sort of like the chassis leg, if you can see in there, this piece here, and you will get rust on that if it's not looked after properly. So with the door open, another place I would check as well is down this gap here, especially if you can't, you know, the owner might not let you take the inner wheel arch off, but if you open this door, and shine a torch down here and here, you should be able to get an idea of what the front sill looks like, especially down this bit on the left. You want to make sure that's not rusted as well. Again, you can see the sort of bit of the A-pillar here. That should all be in good condition. So another place I'd look for rust is these two chassis rails that run down the sides of the car. You've got that one there and that one over there, going down the length of the vehicle, one on that side. Check them for rust, give them a tap and make sure they're both solid. Also, I'd look at the general of what it's like underneath to see if you got sort of all rusty control arms, etc. See, this one's not too bad for a 27-year-old car, but I will need to go over it all. I will need to go over a lot of this. It's hard to see on the camera. That's a bit better. So go over the overall sort of rustiness of the control arms and over the sway bars. That'll give you an indicator of how the previous owner looked after it. This is not too bad. I will be going over these with paint. Also the chassis rail, I'll be completely rust proof in that. At this end, again, doesn't look too bad, looks fairly nice. It's 27 years old, but it looks in better condition than my old BMW. I would also recommend looking in the boot as well. It's a bit hard to tell, but just give it a good look over, see if there's anything that looks suspicious, especially sort of on the actual metalwork. This needs cleaning. So a check all in there. Another place that you get rust, very rarely, but you sometimes will see slight bubbling on this A-pillar, and that's because it goes sort of down behind here, and I'm not too sure what causes it. This is perfect, this one, but I have seen online, quite rarely, but you do get rust bubbling sort of behind here, and that could be a problem.